Death arrives before the brain even registers the threat. Zero warning. Zero mercy. One moment the jungle is breathing peacefully. The next a life is being extinguished. Out here brute strength takes a back seat to split-second timing. One launch, one loop, and the story ends. What you are seeing isn't your standard wildlife footage. These are displays of evolutionary warfare at its most terrifying. Toxins brewed to liquefy nerves on contact. Muscle fibers built to collapse rib cages before a cry can escape. Snakes don't bother with posturing. They simply delete the competition. Hidden in the thick brush, a slender rat snake slithers forward, oblivious to the crosshairs painted on its back. The air is heavy with pheromones, a scent trail that leads straight to its demise. Nearby, an apex hunter is already tracking. Quiet, focused, deadly. The indigo snake doesn't rush the approach. It strategizes. This beast has spent eons perfecting the art of killing its cousins, stripping away fear and doubt from its genetic code. The second skin touches skin, the exit door slams shut. The rat snake goes ballistic, muscles firing in a panic-stricken attempt to flee. But the indigo's bite clamps down like a vice, suffocating both breath and freedom simultaneously. No drawn-out duel, no cinematic comeback, just the cold efficiency of a predator that has read the script. A stone's throw away, hatchlings scatter from the nest, sprinting against a planet that wants them dead. One falls behind the pack, just one. That is the only invitation the hunter needs. The shadow strikes again with robotic precision. Jaws engulf the head, air supply cut. The struggle evaporates. In nature, being slow is a capital offense. These aren't freak accidents. This is the standard operating procedure. Serpents don't gamble. They execute blueprints drafted over millions of years, where every incompetent ancestor was scrubbed from history. What's left is a killing machine stripped of all weakness. If this opening has your adrenaline spiking, don't move a muscle. The intensity is about to skyrocket, featuring a beast that makes venomous killers look like amateurs. Smash that like button, subscribe, and steel yourself, because we are just getting started. Usually, chemical warfare settles the score. One injection can freeze muscles, blind the senses, and wrap things up in a heartbeat. But nature loves a curveball. Predators built not just to kill, but to walk through fire and shrug off the deadliest poisons on the planet. On a sun-baked rock, a rattle signals imminent death. A venomous viper coils, convinced its biological weapon is a sufficient deterrent. But the incoming nightmare doesn't pause. It doesn't blink. This king snake has been dining on danger since birth. Immunity courses through its veins. The rattlesnake fires first, fangs sinking in with a desperate prayer for survival. Against anything else it would work. But the king absorbs the venom and drives forward, jaws clamping down while its body winds tight like a constrictor knot. The poison hits the bloodstream, but the effect is null. Air vanishes. The heart fails. The battle concludes not with a bang, but with a squeeze. Elsewhere, a coral-hued hunter latches onto a victim, refusing to break contact. Unlike vipers that strike and recoil, this one has to chew the toxin and working it deep into the tissue. Time drags on. Tendons flare. Then, a twist of fate. A stray branch. A momentary snag. The grip slips for a fraction of a second. The prey vanishes into the leaves, cheating the reaper by a margin almost too thin to measure. Deep in the tropical canopy, two alien shapes engage in a violent tangle. A lethal viper tries to pump its payload into the attacker, but the target refuses to go down. Instead, it whips around, parrying the strikes and shrugging off toxins that should have stopped the heart minutes ago. Biologists suspect certain snakes living in these kill zones develop a partial shield, just enough resistance to survive the bite and slip away. Today, that biological armor pays off. The venomous aggressor loses its leverage. The intended meal breaks the hold and melts into the undergrowth, turning a guaranteed execution into a miraculous escape. These moments reveal a hidden layer of the wild poison isn't always the ace in the hole. Sometimes, evolution hands the prey a shield strong enough to flip the table. If you are hooked on these high-stakes psychological battles, hit like, subscribe, and keep your eyes on the screen. The next segment shows what happens when sheer mass dictates the winner. Not every death is quick. Some play out in excruciating silence, where raw power supersedes venom and stamina is the only thing that matters. Here there is no lightning-fast bite, only a slow, crushing pressure and the terrifying clarity that no help is coming. In a jagged ravine, a massive python strikes, throwing heavy loops around a muscular monitor lizard. The reptile goes to war, claws tearing at the soil body, thrashing in absolute defiance. Minutes tick by. The brawl lasts far longer than physics should allow. The lizard fights on even as its energy reserves hit empty. The python relaxes its grip for a split second, not giving up, just adjusting. Its jaw hangs loose, unhinged by the violence of the capture. After resetting the hold, the beast begins the final phase. Slow, deliberate. The victim is swallowed whole, a testament to the fact that patience often kills more effectively than speed. By the muddy bank, a frog kicks, frantically dragging the serpent attached to its leg through the wet grass. The amphibian puts up a hell of a fight, slamming into weeds, burning every calorie it has left. But once the snake secures the second leg, the leverage shifts. The game is lost. The predator gulps it down with zero urgency, fully aware the checkmate happened the moment its teeth made contact. Nearby, a juvenile snake is busy consuming its own prize, blind to the fact that it has just become dinner. Out of the gloom, a larger king snake lunges. Coils wrap the skull instantly, stopping the blood to the brain. No epic duel. Mass dictates the winner. Cannibalism is the exception, but when it triggers, it is absolute. One life fuels another. These clips expose the brutal math of nature. Escape is a fantasy once the predator establishes control. When those muscles lock, the future is written. If these relentless displays have you glued to your seat, double-check that you're subscribed. The intensity is about to peak, pitting predators against rivals that are just as lethal. Some fights aren't about food. They are about territory. About two weaponized killers stepping into the same ring, neither willing to back down. When apex predators clash, there is no margin for error, only violent choices made in a heartbeat. On a dusty trail, a chase unfolds with terrifying intent. The fleeing snake snaps back, striking wildly, knowing this is its only shot at seeing tomorrow. But the pursuer takes the hits and keeps closing the gap. This hunter is a specialist, wielding a trifecta of muscle poison and stubbornness to dismantle its own kind. With every second the coil tightens, the window for escape slams shut. Finally, the struggle ceases, and the victor claims its prize without a hint of remorse. In another duel, loops of muscle entrap a venomous viper fighting to inject a lethal dose. But the aggressor is fearless. It squeezes harder, ignoring bites that would cripple a mammal in seconds. This species grew up in the line of fire, evolving a tolerance that turns biological weapons into minor nuisances. Once the thrashing stops, the winner begins to feed, confident the danger has passed. High in the branches, a bird commits a fatal error, drifting too close to the statue's still hunter. The strike is a blur. Venom floods the system before the wings can even flap. Frozen in midair, the prey falls to an ambush artist that never needed to be fast, just perfectly timed. Clean, quiet, permanent. In the final showdown, an armored reptile seems to hold the upper hand. Heavy plating, strong legs. But once the constriction begins, armor is just decoration. Blood flow stalls. Oxygen cuts out. Even the toughest shield fails when the pressure is absolute. The snake realigns its jaw and starts the slow swallow, proving nothing is truly invincible. These aren't just violent spectacles. They are tutorials written in blood and instinct. In the world of fang and claw, hesitation is a death sentence. If you are still watching, you are witnessing the unforgiving engine of nature. Smash that like button, subscribe, and brace yourself. The finale delivers the most jarring conclusion yet. Every clip you have watched points to one reality. Out here, second chances don't exist. No pity, no referee. Survival is the prize for those sculpted by eons of pressure and failure. Snakes aren't villains or heroes. They are the result, living evidence of what works. In the final act, a massive constrictor attacks from the void. No dramatic music. The loops cinch tight, instantly cutting the lights before the brain can panic. This is how evolution settles disputes, silently and permanently. Even tank-like prey, even veteran killers crumble when the grip is perfect. Strength fails. Resistance is futile. What makes this so haunting isn't the gore, but the mechanical perfection. Every bite, every wrap, every gulp follows a program written millions of years ago. No wasted motion. No unnecessary drama. Just efficiency sharpened to a razor's edge. This is the hypnotic power of the hunt that keeps us watching. It forces us to acknowledge that the wilderness accepts no bargains. The environment tests without pause, purging the fragile and preserving only those lethal enough to endure the absolute worst. If this expedition into the zone of lethal strikes altered your perspective on serpents, please back the channel. Hit like, subscribe, and toggle notifications to ensure you catch the next volume of unedited biological warfare. Expect more shocking confrontations where instinct drives every move. and only the victor slithers away.